They were ordinary moments. A headache before school, a backache after work, a cold creeping in after a long flight. 7 people in the Chicago area reached for the most trusted name in American medicine, Tylenol. And within hours, they were gone. It was 1982, and the nation would learn a new word for terror: tampering. Store shelves turned into crime scenes. Bathroom cabinets felt like trapdoors. And the most chilling part? No fingerprints. No witnesses. No motive that made sense. Just a phantom who weaponized trust and vanished. This is the story of the Chicago Tylenol Murders, how a handful of capsules changed corporate America, rewrote federal law, and left behind one of the most baffling unsolved cases in U.S. history. Alex Reyes, 45, lead detective in Chicago, a seasoned homicide detective with a calm, relentless mind. The case's point investigator who pieces together physical clues and human contradictions. Dr. Priya Shah, 33, forensic chemist. Analytical and exacting, she's the scientist who identifies the poison and translates lab data into the language of evidence. Dana Whitfield, 38. Corporate spokesperson of Johnson & Johnson, the composed public face of the company during crisis, balancing corporate responsibility with the pressure of a national panic. Tom Lee, 41, evening news anchor, the voice of the breaking headlines. His broadcasts amplify fear and spread the warning that transforms this into a national emergency. Mr. O'Connor, 52, pharmacist at a local store, a neighborhood pharmacist caught in the chaos. He represents the human front line, those who stocked the shelves and then watched them emptied. In the early 1980s, over-the-counter pain relief was a quiet ritual of American life. A headache never stood a chance against a red and white bottle of Tylenol, the market leader, a household staple, the brand doctors most recommended. Johnson & Johnson, its parent company, had built an empire on a promise: safety you didn't have to think about. Packaging then looked different. Gelatin capsules, 2 halves pressed together, were prized for their fast relief. The bottles were not sealed the way we know them today. No plastic shrink bands, no glued boxes, no triple-layer barriers. You'd twist the cap, pour out a couple of capsules, and move on with your day. Back then, the idea that a stranger might poison a bottle on a store shelf didn't just feel absurd, it felt impossible. And then, in late September 1982, Chicago woke up to a nightmare. September 29th, 1982, 7 a.m., suburban Chicago. 12-year-old Mary Kellerman tells her parents she isn't feeling well. She takes an extra-strength Tylenol capsule. Minutes later, she collapses. By the time she reaches the hospital, it's too late. Across town, a 27-year-old postal worker, Adam Janis, leaves work early with chest pains. He swallows Tylenol at home and dies that afternoon. Grief gathers at the Janis home. Family members arrive. The shock is raw, the pain unthinkable. In the aftermath, Adam's younger brother, Stanley, reaches for the same bottle. Then Stanley's wife, Teresa, does the same. Within hours, both are dead. 3 in the same family, 3 from the same house, all from the same bottle. By evening, a 31-year-old retail worker, Mary McFarland, takes Tylenol for a headache in the break room. She collapses at work. A new mother, Mary Reiner, takes Tylenol for postpartum discomfort. She never recovers. And on October 1st, 35-year-old flight attendant Paula Prince buys Tylenol at a Walgreens after a late flight. She's found in her apartment, her bottle open on the counter. A security camera photo will later show her at the register, unaware she is purchasing death. Each victim took a capsule that had been laced with potassium cyanide. an industrial poison that shuts down cellular respiration. The body starves for oxygen, even when the lungs are full. The onset is fast. The end is merciless. At first, the deaths look unrelated, tragic, scattered, impossible to connect. But a few sharp eyes piece together the pattern. Tylenol, extra strength, capsules, same metropolitan area. Then the realization hits like a shockwave. The killer is not in the house. The killer is on the shelf. Panic erupts. Emergency bulletins flash across TV screens. Stop taking Tylenol. Police race to pharmacies and supermarkets, yanking bottles from shelves. Fire trucks cruise neighborhoods with loudspeakers, warning families to throw Tylenol away. Hospitals set up hotlines. Parents check medicine cabinets with trembling hands. Law enforcement converges. Local police, Illinois authorities, the FBI. They isolate the cyanide-laced capsules. The bottles look normal. No tool marks. No obvious tampering. Forensic chemists crack them open. The cyanide concentration is stunning, enough to kill many times over. Investigators map the victims' purchases. Different stores, different lots, all within the Chicago area. A terrifying theory takes shape. The tampering happened after the bottles left the factory. Someone was going store to store, opening boxes, replacing capsules with poison, and returning the bottles to the shelves. Johnson & Johnson faces the unthinkable. In a move that would redefine crisis management, the company orders a nationwide recall. 31 million bottles pulled back and destroyed. The cost is enormous. The message is clear: safety over profit. They offer a reward for information, set up a hotline, and cooperate fully with investigators. In corporate case studies, this will become the gold standard for how to respond when trust is broken. But while the brand stabilizes, the hunt for the killer grows more desperate. Leads. Detectives chase them all. A bizarre extortion letter claims responsibility and demands money. The writer, later identified as James Lewis, is convicted of extortion, but not the murders. Other suspects emerge: disgruntled employees, pharmacists, someone angry at the company, someone seeking chaos. Each is scrutinized. None are charged. Forensics in 1982 can't pull a viable fingerprint, DNA profile, or fiber trail from the capsules. Store surveillance is rare and grainy. The killer, if it was only one, moved through ordinary aisles like a shadow and left almost nothing behind. Meanwhile, copycat tamperings flare up in other states. The country spirals into tamper terror, from Halloween candy rumors to sealed packages at every checkout. What began in Chicago becomes a national psychosis. The ordinary ritual, take two and call me in the morning, has been violated. New federal law follows, the Federal Anti-Tampering Act. Packaging transforms. Triple seals, foil membranes, glued flaps, plastic bands. A new design language emerges around a single principle: make any intruder visible. But even as America's stores harden and corporate policies evolve, the question remains unanswered. Who did this, and why? Years pass. Task forces are formed, dissolved, reformed. Detectives retire. Boxes of evidence move from shelf to shelf. Journalists return every few years to write the same aching headline: no arrest. The primary narrative never changes. 7 dead, no charges for the murders, a case that shaped everything and solved nothing. The Janus family, shattered by a single bottle, becomes the soul of the tragedy. 3 funerals, 1 household. An entire family constellation snuffed out because someone, somewhere, wanted to watch strangers die. Johnson & Johnson survives, scarred, humbled, transformed. the recall becomes a case study in ethics. New packaging becomes standard across industries, not just in medicine. The public regains a different kind of trust. Not the naive trust of, it can't happen, but the engineered trust of, you will know if it has. But the most essential outcome is the one that never arrives. Closure. Without a confession, without a fingerprint, the murders become legend, a dark parable about the fragility of safety and the way evil can hide in plain sight. The Chicago Tylenol murders drift into the American subconscious, a warning embedded in plastic and foil. Every time you twist a child-proof cap, peel back a seal, or crack a glued box top, you're following instructions written in cyanide. Investigators never stop thinking about it. They replay the route, pharmacy to pharmacy, aisle to aisle. A killer with a steady hand and a taste for anonymous power. Maybe the motive was revenge. Maybe it was extortion gone feral. Maybe the motive, like the poison, was invisible. Ask the detectives what stays with them, and they'll say it's the banality, the ordinariness of a shopping trip that turned into a death sentence. A receipt, a plastic bag, a bottle. You could trace a life by the things it never feared, until the day it should have. The victims become more than names on a list. They become signposts in a map of trust betrayed. Mary Kellerman, 12. Bright, beloved, a kid with a headache before school. Adam Janis, 27. A steady, kind man who came home early and never left again. Stanley and Teresa Janis, love and grief drawn into the same trap. Mary McFarland, on a break at work, a moment that should have been ordinary. Mary Reiner, a new mother, a life gathering momentum. Paula Prince. A flight attendant with a polite smile at a register, caught in the last undisturbed frame. What was left behind was more than sorrow. It was infrastructure. The laws, the packaging, the alarms built into our routines. The world quietly re-engineered itself around a crime it never solved. And in that absence sits the most chilling possibility of all, that the killer watched the recall on television, heard the sirens in the streets, and realized they had changed America with a pocket full of capsules, and would never be found. If you grew up peeling seals and popping foils, you've been living in the shadow of a phantom. The Chicago Tylenol murders turned the bathroom cabinet into a cautionary tale, and every safety seal since has been a memorial to 7 strangers who trusted a brand and met a monster. If this story unsettled you, subscribe for more real cases told the way they deserve, carefully, respectfully, and without easy answers, because some crimes leave fingerprints. And some leave a blueprint for how we live the rest of our lives. This is not the end of the story, only the edge of what we know.